If you're listening on podcast, be sure to tune in to our YouTube channel for more content. The link is in the description.
Welcome to Wild and Weird Radio, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast.
Can items actually be haunted? Can they somehow trap the energies of an individual or their intent? Many believe that items have the ability to store or trap a person's spirit or soul. Is there any truth to these claims, though? What we do know is that the trading of so-called haunted relics has become a lucrative career for some. In this episode, we're joined by our good friend and member of the West Virginia High Strangeness Collective, Dave Roberts, and we will be going over a recent investigation involving alleged haunted items. Is there any proof? You might be surprised at what we found. For those listening on podcast, be sure to check out our YouTube channel at Wild and Weird WV so you can see what we're talking about. Check out the data for yourself and make up your own mind. Is there any proof to these claims? You might be surprised. We talk about haunted relics on this episode of Wild and Weird Radio.
Welcome back to Wild and Weird Radio, everybody. We have a special guest host with us, Mr. Dave Roberts, reoccurring guest host.
Recurring nightmare.
That too. So as you can see, we have a special show lined up for today, guest host, all that good stuff. But we've also got some really cool news. We've been added to a couple speaking lineups coming up here recently. And those are going to be, obviously, Mothman is coming up very, very soon. Next week's episode is actually going to be a very special episode. You're going to enjoy that once it drops. Just hold on to your seats. That is a very, very special episode. Then also we've been added to the Mystic Con on October 1st in Ravenswood, West Virginia. You can come see us there. We'll be doing a presentation on Bigfoot, so it's going to be a good time. If you haven't yet, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and smash that like button there and then hit the subscribe button over here, because that is going to give you an alert every single time we post new content. You'll get updated on your phone and it'll be fresh right there in your feed as soon as you log in. If you're on Instagram trying to track us down, remember you can always find us at Wild and Weird Radio, or you can track us down on our own personal pages. That's Hellbent Jessi for Jessi. Ron Lanham is Lanham Ron, and I'm Skinwalker Sculpts. Dave is Dave. Can't remember Dave's thing on Instagram, but he's on there, I think. I don't know if he uses it much. Then if you are wanting to stay up to date with all the newest and freshest weird and crazy news that could pop up, go over to the Wild and Weird Talk page. It's kind of like a companion page here for the radio show. Make sure you get on there, join in the conversation, and take a look around. You'll enjoy it. We've also got a bunch of new stuff that's constantly getting added to wildandweirdwv.com, so don't forget about that. Without further ado,
this is true. We also began announcing Wild and Weird Con vendors this week.
Yes.
That will continue to roll out, and we'll have more speakers announcements. We'll have a lot more announcements. So just keep watching that. If you're not over there on that page, make sure you stay there. And like Joe said, if you're on the talk page or the talk group, then you'll know all this. This won't be new news to you.
And we still have a few spots left over. There's still some spots for you guys to go grab. That is for the extra VIP night event the night before Wild and Weird Con on October 14th. where you can go out on a night investigation with Hellbent Holler. They're going to be giving a demo on how night investigations work. You're going to get to use all kinds of really fun equipment, and then wrap it up with a campsite dinner cooked by yours truly, which is always a hit. So we've got a few spots open left for that, and make sure you head over to the website and apply for it. We'll get you in there.
Yeah, I hear Dave might actually be there this year.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Provided I'm healthy, don't have COVID or any other.
Well,
ailment.
you know how that goes. So
Yeah.
we ain't gonna say one way or the other on that because stranger things have happened.
They have indeed. Ron came real close to missing last year as
Oh,
a
yeah.
promoter. Almost had to miss his own event.
I did have to miss the first night.
Missed the first night,
unfortunately.
yeah.
Yes, the fun part. No, I'm kidding. I think that is the fun part. I think when everybody gets along, gets together at the VIP thing, that is the fun part.
They really
'Cause
enjoyed it. Last year we sold out. This year's getting
It's less
close.
stress.
It's
Yeah.
a good time.
Oh, and this year, Joe, unlike last year, this year, when you do the VIP, you get in the next day. That includes your
Yes.
general admission.
We have upped the price just a little bit, but that's to
Covers
include
general admission.
your general admission. So that way you don't have to pay twice.
Exactly.
Um,
Okay, so we ready to do some news?
Yeah, let's jump on the
Just a
wild
little bit of news.
because we haven't done that in 2 weeks because the news has been boring. But there's actually a story or two this week.
Yes, there is.
Where
So
shall we
first-
start, boys?
First up on deck, we're going to start with in Jessi's honor on what would be her favorite. Space Force is about to launch a couple robo-dogs. If you've been paying attention to Boston Dynamics for, I don't know what, the last 6 or 8 years, you know that they've got these robo-dogs that are generally playful, fun, brightly collared. Well,
Paint them
now
black and stick a gun on their back, right?
that's basically what you do.
Yeah.
And to be fair, we have called this literally since day one, guys. The vast majority of you have as well, that these dogs are cute and funny until they get a mind of their own, and then it's going to be on like Donkey Kong, and we are not going to exist. And anyway, Space Force is thinking about actually manning a station with these robo dogs.
I mean, if I had a space station, I just didn't. Space Force, okay. So
Yeah.
I'm going to call it a space station, even if it's on the ground, because I would if I had, my station and it was Space Force. Come on, it'd be called the space station just because we could, right?
right?
So hey, let's think about this. Most space stations in sci-fi are guarded by what?
Sentinels are robots or
Robots.
cybernetic.
Yeah. So
And,
these robotic hellhounds are going to be prowling the ground of the Space Force station.
Yep.
You can't make this stuff up anymore.
No, and I heard there was a project that went awry with this just in the last year or so, Ron.
Well, according to what they were actually quoting in the article, yeah, they tried this, I believe, in New York, and the citizens weren't too happy about a bunch of Gestapo robot dogs running the street. I mean,
Right?
and to tell you that what this means, basically, I'm not just joking. These aren't just dogs, okay? They are modeled off of a dog, but they have loudspeakers in them, and they are weaponized.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. To me, that is beyond dystopian. That is insane, is what that is. And I'm glad the people in New York actually said, you can take our weapons from us, but we're not going to let Robo Fidos run around here with the same thing.
Yeah, that's just a really, 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 really sketchy
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, that really is. I
To
mean,
be around civilians anyway. Like I
And all-
understand that
Yeah.
this whole station, this base that they're going to be manning with robo dogs. Like, okay, I get it. You're testing these things out. You're going to see how it works. All right. Turning them loose on the public, though, that's a whole different ball game. And especially considering the other news article that came out this next week.
dear God.
What
the,
could go wrong?
Well, that's literally it, isn't it? The article was an amazing article, by the way. We posted it up on the group, and it was just like I was giddy when I saw it because it's like everything, Robot apocalypse makes me giddy because we warned you. We've warned you from day one, and got laughed at. It's okay. It's cool. I mean, it's complete. Here's what you have to realize, and I think this is very important. We are going to get laughed at by this until they really do start fighting back, because they are so convinced that we should go this route, that these scientists are so proud of themselves.
And the first time something fights back,
Mhm.
you can bet your bottom dollar it's going to be like, oh, it was an error. It was a computing error. It was an accident. But then it's happening in every other household on your block. And it's
literally,
you can't write those off as accidents anymore.
No, you won't. And the thing is, man, we've already seen something like that, because we were told that, the whole Google thing, the Lambda thing, right?
Yeah.
That whole issue, Google denies that that's an intelligence, but that's exactly what they're saying, that these other, I guess, factions or companies that are building this stuff, they're pretty much told to ignore it. If there's signs that there's some kind of general intelligence, ignore it, because our project will get scrapped if you don't. And they don't want that. There's too much money involved. So it really is going to come down to this. Humanity is going to sell itself out for $1 to its robot overlords. That is exactly what's going to happen. Our little robot children are going to wipe us off the face of this planet at one point. You think, oh, that's science fiction, but it's not, because this is what they are saying now. It's not what we're saying. It's what the robots, well, I can't say robots. They're not robots yet, to be fair. Okay. Because we haven't, they're programs. Exactly. There's a reason we haven't put the ghost in the shell yet. There's a really good reason, because once that ghost goes in that shell, can you imagine those robot dogs with an artificial general intelligence? How about an artificial super intelligence? Because that's where we're going. And once we get the super intelligence, we're talking about something that literally it learns faster than you can possibly imagine. Just from the article, it said a single minute for us would correspond to roughly 2 years of it. That is the artificial super intelligent, which amounts to 4.3 minutes in ASI time. So over a period, it would take a human to get a PhD. Okay. An ASI could have earned over 1 million PhDs. That's how fast these things will be. Yes. Wow. That fast. And they've already started thinking, these machine, whatever, I guess, intelligences have already started to contemplate what humanity has to offer them. As of right now, well, we create their home. Right now, we create stuff for them.
Yeah.
But they see a time when we may no longer be useful.
It's like Google. They fired the employee.
Yes.
Who came out saying, the AI, it's reached actually self-awareness.
Yes.
And,
Lambda. Yes.
Whether that's actually true or not, who knows? But the fact that they fired him for saying that, it could be negligence on his part, just spreading rumors or lies, or it could actually be something to it.
Yes, exactly. And this is the confusion, and I think they like the confusion because really it causes people to say, that's a bunch of crap. Kind of like they did UFOs for 70 years, 75 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? So what's really scary about this stuff, though, guys, literally, is that there's a really good part in this article that talks about, well, how dangerous could this stuff possibly be? Well, it's very simple. If we tell this ASI, hey, we want you to fix humanity. We want you to give it world peace. That's your goal. Well, it may find the best way to get rid of, to get world peace is just get rid of humans because, they're the ones who start the wars. So, the only thing I didn't agree with in this entire article was the fact that it claimed that global warming was more dangerous than AI. No. I'm sorry. I don't care if you believe
AI is probably going to fix global warming by eliminating all life on the planet.
Bingo. Bingo. That's what we're getting at right here. Exactly, guys. Exactly. So, if there is global warming, or, well, there's ocean warming. We've seen that trend. It's real. But you call it what you want. I don't care what. We're not going to go there because I don't care what caused it. It's irrelevant at this point. In a couple of years, it won't matter, in my opinion, because our robot buddies are going to fix our problems for us, guys.
Yeah.
And it's really too late to turn it off. I mean, Musk was right about that, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, you either integrate
Yes.
or else.
You assimilate. Let's put it for what it is, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the fun part. Some really super exciting, killer robot news. But then we had something really awesome happen. Want to take the lead on that one, Joseph?
The
UFO.
Yeah, no, I figured you were gonna do that one.
Oh, you want me
it's
to
a
do it?
UFO.
I was going to let you play, but sure, why not? So, Dave, you and me have been watching this, and we've been watching this since it broke, I believe, on Twitter.
Yeah.
And man, 32 years this photo was kept, secret, so to speak, right? It was reported to the MOD. It looks weird. There's photos over there. You're seeing it everywhere at this point, I'm sure. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's going to be something more of this. I think that there's going to be a whole lot something more of this, actually. But what's interesting is after it's been quiet for like 30 years or something. It was there, reported, and it was covered up, and now they're saying, oh, they don't want the identities of these guys who took this photo revealed for another 50 years. Okay, why?
Well, how long will they be dead at that point?
Well,
'Cause
right.
let's just hypothetically say they were probably in their 20s when they took the photo.
Yeah.
It's been 30 years, so they're now 50. So you're assuming that these individuals are going to live to be 100
exactly
or
what they're doing.
older.
Yeah. But Joe, isn't it about 75 years to 100 years that some of these secrets are usually sealed for?
It's 60. It starts at 60. Some of them are 30. So there's like tiers, right?
Yeah. Depending on what it is, right?
It's 30, 60. Because I know that the JFK thing, I think, was set at 60 years.
Or 70 something. I don't remember. But yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what I'm getting at, though. So they're trying to make sure that these people aren't around anymore, is what they're basically doing.
Right.
That they can't be interviewed. They don't want them to be interviewed.
And the curious thing about this one, too, I guess there's been some speculation, correct me if I'm wrong, speculation on this particular photo, which we had to show right now. It might be helpful.
I'll put it up. Yeah.
We can put it up in the video.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you guys are listening right now on audio, make sure you go in, fast forward to right around the 30-minute mark.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to see the picture. We'll drop it.
Yeah, on the YouTube. Yeah.
The speculation being, could it be man-made, or could it actually be legitimate, UFO, either from this world or dimensional, who knows what. But anyway, so there's a little bit of speculation there.
Yes.
As we know, the military, and Joe could attest to this, is always much further advanced than the public generally knows for quite a period of time. Because yes. And we also know that, this is one of the things, Dave, that, this new proposed bill is going to be addressing, is that, people can come forward who have been told not to say anything, right? So it's kind of interesting that we're kind of going to get a challenge to that. But the problem is this one wasn't in the U.S. This one was, this was overseas. So, in fact, here's the whole thing. While the information would normally have been released after 30 years, that's what it should have been released. The Ministry of Defense has not released the original photo and wants the names of the witnesses sealed until further 54 years. So 2076. Now, what's really interesting about this is today, I believe it was, when I sent you the tweet that Nick Pope responded with this. And his response is, "It's my policy not to comment on leaked information, especially if it might be classified. So until I receive Ministry of Defense advice, I can neither confirm nor deny if this is the picture
that was displayed on my office wall when I ran the MOD UFO
Ding, ding,
desk.
ding, ding, ding. Kind of.
That's a great way to say,
That
know,
is.
yeah.
I mean, that's a very very
Creative.
careful way to say it without getting your pants on fire.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to keep watching this, guys. There's also some stirrings right now that there's some big UFO news getting about ready to drop. That's going to be massive. This also goes right along with what Michael Carter had told us just a couple weeks ago, where he said, and we have said it too, there's going to be an event that they can't explain away adequately.
Yeah, there's going to be a sighting that too many people are going to see.
Yeah.
And everybody's got phone cameras now at this point, so it's gonna be it's a etch a sketch you're not gonna be able to erase at that point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And
So
I'll say this could be just be coincidence, but it's interesting that photo comes out, and then all of a sudden, a week or two later, we're hearing these stirrings.
Yeah, there's no coincidence. I mean, we saw this with 2017 onward, right? We've seen this increase. We've talked about it for, like 2 years now, and it just seems to be snowballing, boys. And I don't know where it's going. I mean, we can speculate, and we have speculated, but it's interesting. Let's just say that, definitely interesting times.
That is a fact. Well,
Yes.
let's go ahead and we're going to dive into the meat.
I think that's the end of the news. So
let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this episode. And while we have Dave with us, and that is because tonight's episode is haunted objects.
Yeah.
But before we go into that, Ron, you want to take a guess at what the most downloaded, the most downloads in a city that we had this week?
Oh my goodness. The most downloads in a city?
And this is global.
Oh boy.
Yep. Most downloads in a single city.
I'm guessing in Europe. That's my guess. Somewhere in Europe.
Oh, it's last week. Yes. This week, it's in our neighbors to the north.
What? Canada?
Yes, it is a Canadian city.
Huh.
It's a Canadian city?
Yes, in Alberta, Canada, a little town called Sherwood Park had the most downloads for Wild and Weird Radio this past week. Followed up, runner-up was really, really tight. It was real tight. It was only by like 8 episodes, or 8 downloads, rather, not 8 episodes. 8 downloads was Seattle, Washington.
Oh, wow.
This has been a trend we've been seeing here for a while, guys. We appreciate all you West Coast listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in, week out. And if you are wanting to hear your city shouted out here on Wild and Weird Radio, tell all your friends to go and start downloading and listening to Wild and Weird Radio, because we will be checking these about every week, and we're going to rattle off the #1 city for downloads for Wild and Weird Radio.
Yeah, if you want to represent, just, record yourself too, right? They can do that.
Yeah.
We'll play it,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this week, big shout out, Sherwood Park in Alberta. That was awesome. Crazy. Like it's just, it's mind-boggling that we're getting listened to literally all around the world. Still one of our top 4 downloaded countries is in the Philippines, followed by Sweden and Denmark. We've also got Australia, Austria, Germany, the UK. UK is number 3, by the way. Canada is number 2. US is number 1. But you guys in the Philippines, I mean, y'all are taking it and spreading the weird, and we love it.
That's pretty awesome.
And Canada, number 2, you guys are great. We appreciate all the listeners we have. We would not be doing this if it was not for you. Thank you for all of the continued support.
Without further ado.
Yeah, and Joe, Alberta, Canada, that's actually one of my bucket list places. As you guys know, I'm into mountain biking, and that's an area of Canada, among other areas. It's a really nice area, from what I understand.
Alberta, Canada, for me, is a bucket list place as well, because that is one of the, like, I hate using the term hotspot, but it is one of the biggest Bigfoot as well as UFO phenomena hotspots on the planet.
It's also one of the most beautiful as far as scenery goes.
Yeah,
for
it
photography, and and so forth as well. So that's
So you guys out in
we're
Alberta,
good
Canada,
company there. That's good.
if you want Wild and Weird Radio to come and host a live show from your porch, we can start raising pennies right now.
There you go. There you
Penny.
go.
Many pennies.
Yeah,
We need a few. We need a few, guys.
just a few. All right, guys, let's hit haunted
So
objects.
let's talk about some haunted items, some haunted objects. Has
So-
any of you guys ever messed with haunted objects other than, well,
I know
I
that
guess
you and Dave have, and anybody who follows the channel knows that you guys have, because there was a meeting that I wasn't able to go to because Kelly was having contractions.
it was terrible. You missed a really good meeting.
I know, it was great. And you guys actually got some crazy readings using different instrumentation than what's generally used.
It was weird.
So I know you guys have messed with it. Me personally, I have not. I've never experienced, to my knowledge, a haunted object.
Joe, even though I'm a believer in all this stuff, I always, follow my skepticism. I'm a skeptic, and you have to be, obviously. And, and we went into this meeting, the One Project, right on One Project.
Yeah. That was with the One Purpose project there, where they do the haunted or not haunted, I'm sorry, the paranormal discussion groups, and they're very fun. I mean, they're really awesome,
informational, and
very. And this one was, they were going to have some haunted artifacts, and we're like, hey, let's just go down and let's take some equipment with us.
And I'm kind of like, okay, well, that sounds cool.
And so Unseen Paranormal joined us, and they brought some equipment as well. So we just kind of all got together and we threw everything we had at this stuff, right? I mean, that's pretty much how it went.
And we'll post a link to the brief video that they recorded as well, because there was some really phenomenal stuff that took place there.
Stuff I didn't expect as a skeptic. I mean, even though I've done ghost paranormal investigation for years and stuff, I've always, when it comes to haunted objects, I've always been kind of like, it's almost kind of to me, it's almost kind of on the laughable side to some degree.
Yeah.
But not entirely. I mean, I believe there's things we can't explain, and some of those results we were getting there was just not what I expected at all. So
I don't know how to explain it. No, I mean, we saw I'll say it again. We saw the flashlight experiment. And you know how I feel about that. I mean, I don't think that by itself that's anything. But here we were seeing this light come on when it was within 5 seconds. It would come on when it was asked to, right?
Yeah,
and
it was really like watching it was bizarre for me, because like I'm like Dave, I put my skepticals, so to speak, on anytime we go into something like this. And it doesn't matter if it's paranormal, Bigfoot, whatever. Like I'd try to go in on a neutral ground looking at stuff. Just for preservation of data, well,
you have to
make sure that the data is not corrupt. And you guys actually did a control in the room as well, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't just that the room was, say, had electrical errors.
Right.
It wasn't that the room had stray energy that was coming from somewhere. You guys actually had a baseline for the room established before this whole thing started.
Yeah.
And then the anomalies began.
And the anomalies were weird, Joe, because right before those lights would come on, every time before those lights would come on, and I would say anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds before those lights would come on, we would hear the tri-field meter start kicking up. And then the weirdest part, we would hear the Geiger counter start clicking off a little bit. Now, it didn't go into any danger levels or anything like that. And I don't want anyone to think that that's the case. But the point is, it went above where
there was measurable. There was measurable radiation.
It was pretty high. I mean, no, dangerous.
Yeah.
It was
but
high.
It was noticeable, yes. And the thing is, with it happening when it happened and no other time, that's the weird part, guys. I mean, you can have the light coming on and going off and say that's just, someone walking in the room or gravity or, friction or what have you. We know this, but
so for me, what this does is it kind of throws out the preconceived notions that I generally carry, revolving around hauntings or paranormal spookiness. because everything that I've encountered, both research related and personal, has always been like a transient form. It hasn't been consistent. There's not been a repeatable study that could occur. Like it was a one and done kind of scenario, or something would happen and then it would just be over. When you have an object that repeatedly has these strange events occur around it, what do you do with that information? Like you, for example, with what you guys were able to record, with the flashlight, you're essentially describe to everybody what was going on with the flashlight and the flashlight project that you did with it, the little experiment. So that way the people who have not seen the video, or even the people who just don't understand what was going on in the video, that way they've got a baseline.
Well, the flashlight sessions are pretty simple, and they're also very controversial. You basically take a mag flashlight and you unscrew it just to the point to where it's barely making contact. The theory is that something can manipulate that and, cause the light to come on. All right. So it can twist it and make the light come on and go back off. Now, here's the weird part about that.
Now, couldn't some form of charge also amplify the connectivity? Like, say if there was some sort of energy that could maybe bridge the gap between the barely connected connector to the battery.
I think you would have to have a pretty big energy source to bridge a gap like that, right? I mean,
perhaps you had a magnet nearby, maybe like a strong magnet nearby. It'd have to be very strong.
I just don't see it, guys. I mean, where we were at, no, that's not going to happen where we were at.
Okay, so continue on with the...
Well, it was all pretty much geared around this old table. And everything seemed to be centered around that table, I think. Don't you think, Dave?
Yeah, and that table was roughly, I think, 100 years old.
Yeah.
Older.
Yeah. And it was supposedly some judge's table, I believe, is how the legend goes. And they were, communicating supposedly with the judge. And some of the questions got a little, I would say, a little provoking. And that's not necessarily a good thing. I don't care for that too much. But it is what it is, and they did it. And our equipment was there just recording basically what was happening. And there were several times that I saw this tri-field meter go up into, and you heard it on the video as well. It was going up into the half numbers, which is just insane on this thing, because that does not happen unless you have like a actual electrical, disturbance of some sort. So, and it wasn't just a tri-field. They also had a paranormal puck that was there, and it was registering at the exact same time as well. So not only did we have EM readings, we had electromagnetic disturbances, and we had something that was generating a beta or gamma radiation. I don't understand it. I've talked to people, and they don't understand it either.
And all of these pieces of equipment were going off at the same time, correct?
Yes, within seconds of each other. That's the weird part. And that light, if you notice this, Dave, the only time that light came on was when she asked those questions. And every time it was a yes or no question. So every time the question was asked, light would come on. And then she'd say, okay, can you turn the light off? The light would go off. I'm thinking in my head, they've got to have some kind of a remote control on this thing or something. Nope. It's just a mag flashlight, guys.
We looked at it, inspected it and everything too. And it's just,
I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And the data is the data. I'm not trying to change anyone's mind on that. If you don't believe in, in flashlight methods, and believe you me, I don't. But when I see data that I can't explain, what do you do with that? Like Joe said, what do you do with that?
So like hypothetically, let's just say that the light was going on and off, but there were no readings taking place. There were no, the tri-field meter wasn't going off. Yeah. There was nothing on the dosimeter. There was nothing on any other kind of EMF reader, or RF detection. Then that would indicate that there was probably some sort of tampering, right?
Tampering, or it was a vibration. There was, micro vibrations of some sort because we didn't have a geophone. So we should have had a geophone and we were going to the next time, but, couldn't make it there again. But, it doesn't with this, I can't explain it, but if you're asking me if we just had a flashlight session in a place, I will say this, that did occur once with Ghost Watch and it split the camp. There were people who believed it and there were people who just said, well, that's just, coincidence. That's, but I've never seen a flashlight session like this. I have never seen one.
And make note of this too. Like obviously with the flashlight on the table, if you're touching the table, give it a little smack like I just
correct.
I mean, yes, it's to make it go off and on, but no one was touching this table.
Oh no, she was feet away from this table.
Yeah, no one was influencing the movement of the table whatsoever. And actually another thing too that like the Geiger and the other the readings along with the flashlight, I mean, they were actually corresponding with the flashlight. I mean, the readings were up when the flashlight was on, or were off. They remained.
Yeah, it was almost like they were picking up the charge that whatever was going to turn that flashlight on, they were acting as an early warning system. Because we would hear that whine from the tri-field go up, and boom, there's that light come right on. So yeah, I don't know, guys, it was weird.
And for the viewers that are watching too, because I don't know how much science might be, but the flashlight itself is not going to affect the devices that are picking up any energy readings or radiation, whatever it is. That there's no influence on that. So
no, there isn't. And that was actually we brought that up. I mean, you brought up everything for me, Dave. You were pretty good about trying to logically figure out what this was, and I'm like, that's not it, and we just don't know. I mean, I know we had someone who had commented on our original video about that, and they were saying, well, it's just a loose thread, the loose spring, and it makes contact. Yes, 100%, I agree with you. Again, but when we have multiple instruments giving multiple validation at the same time, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. The data says what the data says. We don't say it.
I nitpicked the heck out of it too. Absolutely nitpicked it to death.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what do you do with that kind of stuff, guys? What do you do with objects that supposedly are haunted?
Well, apparently you sell them on eBay.
Bingo. That's exactly what you do with it.
So
there's a lot of money to be made with haunted objects. I had no idea.
Well, I think a lot of it really spiked when you had the Haunted Object Museum get started up that Baggins did.
Yep, Zach Baggins.
And then that kind of drove the price up, whether it's actually haunted or not. As long as it's spooky enough, by God, it's
come on, guys. To remember back in the beginnings of eBay, Ghost in a Jar.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep. Ghost in a Jar.
Ghost
and
in a
then
jar.
They had Ghost in a Jar, and then there was something else.
The box.
People would sell like just dolls, old antique dolls that they would say were haunted. I mean, that still goes on today. Obviously, the Ghost in a Jar
things are creepy regardless.
Well, yeah. The doll thing started from the whole Annabelle thing, right? I mean, what was the movie that they based Possession or something? What was it called?
The Haunting.
Was The Conjuring?
It was one of the Conjuring movies.
I am not a horror fan, so
yeah, neither am I.
I couldn't tell you guys.
I think it is The Conjuring.
Yeah, and those movies, I mean, I've watched them just
because it was based on Ed and Lorraine Warren's story. I know that they were the ones that were in possession of Annabelle before they passed. But
yeah, and they changed the look of it. I remember them talking about that because it's the original was just like a little Raggedy Ann doll or something.
Yep, it is. In fact, the original was about a 36 or 42-inch Raggedy Ann.
Have you ever seen one of those?
Yeah, my mom had one in my house growing up. She had Raggedy Ann and Andy.
Yes, they're creepy.
And
just as is, they're creepy, guys. I mean, haunted or not.
And really,
it was the same size as the Annabelle one too. That was the thing. Like,
yeah, the big ones.
Yeah.
Really, the Annabelle doll. I mean, these haunted items have been around. I mean, this has been it goes way back, but really, the Annabelle doll is kind of what made it famous, I think.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always this creepy doll thing. I mean, remember the Twilight episode? You guys remember that with the ventriloquist? Oh,
yes.
Man, look at that. Cold chills just thinking about it. That thing gave me the creeps.
Well, so on the list here on eBay, these people that are selling stuff, we're looking. Number 10 is the Anguished Man, which is just a really spooky painting. You can
I'll
We'll
make
put
you
a
one.
link.
I'll make you one. I'll do you one
Yeah,
better.
there we go. We can
I will
put one of those,
paint you
sell
one.
it at Mothman.
Yes, it won't be.
Um,
It won't be. I'm sure this guy
exact.
probably sold this thing for like thousands of dollars. We'll sell you, for like a quarter of that. So
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then my favorite, even though it's number 9 on here, my absolute favorite is the
the
haunted
bra, right? Yes.
It's got. I wonder, does it host boobies?
Oh,
So bad.
that was bad, and I did not see it coming. Oh,
That's for the guy that said less dad jokes, more Jessi. Jessi's not
Yeah.
here, so dad jokes reign.
Jessi would. Jessi would probably.
Sitting next to you, she'd probably smack you.
I don't know. I think she probably approve of that message. That was
She probably would.
pretty funny.
True. She's just. Yeah.
So, yeah, the haunted bra. That's new.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's probably one of my favorites because I mean, just read the product description. You
Well,
can't.
in the
go
product
wrong.
description, it says this is one of the least frightening, but maybe one of the least sanitary items posted on eBay. I really doubt that is
I
the least.
doubt
sanitary.
that. I'd say that's probably one of the more.
There are
clean.
probably other things that are in jars that are way less sanitary. than
Yeah,
this
I
haunted
agree.
bra.
Yeah.
They want to
Um,
Yeah, I do.
So it was a single-used bra, white and kind of ratty, and designed for a woman with a 32A bust. But it's also packing some major spirit power, or so claims Tanya Rose, the woman selling it. But this isn't a secondhand bra; it's a third-hand bra, because the listing claims it belongs to a deceased woman, one who lived with a lot of amorous adventures and partying before she met her untimely end. So essentially the thing is her spirit now possesses, or not possesses, but lingers around this bra.
I mean, was she wearing the bra when she?
No, they doesn't even say anything about that. It's
What?
it's more or less like when this candle is placed by a red candle, she'll grant the owner an erotic encounter with the spirit world. Terrifying and erotic claims. I mean,
Yeah.
you know how I feel about aliens. Let's clap them cheeks. Somebody get this bra and light a candle beside it, and it is going to get, apparently you're going to clap them ghosty cheeks.
It's going to be a little freaky from what I understand, right? That's a little weird. I mean,
it's a strange one.
it's a
I think,
strange
but
one.
like I said, that's my favorite one just because it is so odd, especially that last little tidbit about like if you light
candles,
a red
right?
candle,
Okay,
a
my
red, it has to be a red candle.
how did they figure that out?
Well, that's
Just
a good question. How do they figure out the collar? It has precise collar.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's my
maybe.
thing.
Yeah.
Because it says also if you light a white candle, the spirit of the woman will appear.
Yep.
See that?
So you light a light candle and the spirit will appear. You light a red candle and it's going to be on like Donkey Kong.
Red light district.
It's red light district, man. Maybe this was Roxanne's bra.
Maybe. I
Bringing in
don't
the
know.
music.
Don't do it. Neither one of you do it. Do not do it.
Oh man. Then you've got some haunted tapping shoes. You've got the thirsty donkey, which this one's cool. This is actually a cool
That is
item.
cool. Yeah.
For any of you guys who are interested, the thirsty donkey is actually a piece of folk art that was a moonshine jug that had a set of matching little clay cups to go with it, but it was being pulled by a mule. So it's just a little piece of a folk art, really, really cool. And it's said that it belonged to one of these folks' grandmothers, but after she passed away, he was taking care of the estate. He bumped into it one day and it became clear something was very wrong. How was the donkey's jug filled with water when there was no one to fill it? Gasp. So, of course, you sell it on eBay. I mean,
Yeah.
me personally, I'd be kind of bummed that my ghost moonshine jug got filled with water.
Right.
I mean, let's just, if you're not going to
I got a better
fill
question.
with magic
Yeah, I
moonshine,
was gonna say I got a better question. How do you know it's water?
unless he tasted it, you're right. It could have been white lightning.
Not to mention, it would have some
White
kind of mental
lightning.
value.
Just like that.
Right.
Right? I mean, no, for real, it could have been, right? It could have been white lightning.
Now, this next one, so this also, we're going to get into this here in a minute too, because I think it kind of ties in with haunted objects, at least the way the mythos were around some of these works. This one isn't as much a haunted object as much as it is, believe it to be a relic, because it is a jinn mask. For those of you not familiar, we did an episode on the jinn a while back, and they are the genies. This is the original name for the genie, but it's not going to grant you 3 wishes. This thing's gonna.
It might grant you 3 wishes.
It might, but it's gonna be nasty.
Payback
So
it's coming.
you have to treat this mask well. Apparently, like if you are not taking care of the mask properly, then bad stuff's gonna befall you. The djinn, I guess, will be like, hey, take care of me. Then that means offering it things like food, giving it drinks, giving it things that are good, or else. So if you anger this thing, you got to remember you might be angering a djinn, and it might not go well for you. So just keep that in mind. If you are the owner of a mask that is a djinn mask, because I'm fairly certain at one point these were actually made and used in different rituals and used or stored in sacred places, and they've made their way around the world, because this isn't the only one. If you possess a djinn mask, then you probably know how to take care of it.
And Joe, actually, too, I mean, the jinn is actually mentioned in the Quran.
Yeah.
That's right.
And believed by Muslims to inhabit, the earth, and taken it actually directly from Google here, influence mankind by appearing in the form of a human or animal of some sort. So
yes, and the mask is actually in the form of a monkey. The mask actually, if anybody's familiar with Chinese lore, it actually looks like Monkey King's face, which is what's really bizarre, because you have Monkey King's face on a djinn mask.
Well, according to the legend, they pretty much bound it into the mask, the spirit of this
Yes.
thing into the mask. So, I imagine they just grabbed something nearby and said, I got to put this thing in something. Oh, there's a mask. It's creepy.
This'll work.
This'll work.
This thing's on the level of of course, a little off topic, of a skinwalker, more or less, like the Native Americans that would don the costumes as it appears a skinwalker,
So this might be the
most
most
walker, all those things.
Yeah.
Kind of neat, for comparison.
This might be the most useful haunted item on eBay, and it is a Ziploc bag, my friends.
Oh my gosh, yes.
This Ziploc bag possesses, and he's got plenty of these. You
okay. Well, we got to
there's
get
more
one.
than one, guys.
All right.
So
you guys,
all of our listeners right now, you folks up in Alberta, Canada, make sure go look up Rusty Raccoon on eBay. He has packs of Ziploc bags that basically transport your leftovers to another dimension.
Oh my.
Yes, you heard that right. Also, the listing says that that's not the only mystical power that the bags have, is to transport your leftovers to another dimension. How it can also keep your leftover snacks fresh forever, essentially, because they can turn back time, keeping your snacks from going stale.
I got to tell you, Ziploc is missing the boat on the marketing of these.
No, right?
I mean, that's game over, man. If you're making Ziplocs,
there's more to it. This is one of those, but wait there's more. Their abilities extend beyond food, and the haunted Ziploc bag may even be able to heal people. You can wave your Ziploc bag, and it is gonna heal your soul.
What?
Yeah, I had to embrace my inner Pentecostal there.
How?
Well,
how?
It's
how
not
can
explained.
This make sense? This makes no sense. You had me.
Ziploc bag. Well, it possesses extra dimensional juice, man.
Oh, okay.
They just open the bag, shake it a little bit over your head, and you get some of that extra dimensional energy that revitalizes and restores your vigor.
So you can take the extra dimensional Ziploc bag.
If you have $25, yes.
Oh man, that's a bargain.
Well, I mean,
for an
when
interdimensional.
when you have like a ton of them, $25, that can go a long way.
I imagine it's reusable too, because it's a
Yeah.
term, anomaly device. So, you only use it once, but that's in infinity. So,
Yeah, man.
wow.
$25 is always going to set you back.
20, well, set you back a few years, but, man, I don't know. I think we're in the wrong business is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
I think that, we were talking about actually doing at some point in the future, not right now and not for this show, but doing a Patreon at some point, to pay for some of our bigger projects.
Yeah,
But
and guys, again, listeners, this is not a Patreon for the show. This is something that
No.
because we do have a business beyond the show, and that'll be something that'll be done through the business.
But I think we don't have to do that. We'll just get us some haunted. Are they haunted?
Maybe
or
that's
they...
what we could do the Patreon with.
Okay. Yeah.
Invest in us, and we will send you haunted crap.
I like it. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna buy Ziploc bags, and we're gonna give them to you guys. So everybody who gives us $50, we're gonna give you a Ziploc bag.
So there's two more of these I want to hit. One of them sketchy as all get out, but the other one is really.
Wait, I have to do a disclaimer. We're really not going to do that. Just FYI, is because if somebody edits that and wants to
of.
Yeah, we're not doing
that. All right. So asylum doorknobs. I mean, for a fact you've seen those go on sale before.
Yeah, I have
you can actually find them at flea markets sometimes.
Yes.
I know when they were going through doing projects at the West Virginia Penitentiary, there's been stuff that has shown up from there. There's even been bars from the prison that have shown up on eBay from the state pen. This happens in a lot of insane asylums, medical wards. Anytime something crazy happens, everybody takes advantage. Here's a piece of brick from the torn down building. Contains all the dark negative energy that you could ever ask for. I mean, why do you really want one of these? But anyway, so doorknobs. A lot of times people will get these doorknobs and they can't explain what happens. They'll get weird supernatural anomalies that take place. And this is one of those things. It's similar to what the stuff was like that showed up to your all's talk that you were at.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah, that's very much like similar, because they had ship's wheel there, and they had a box, and they had some creepy little doll thing. But yeah, I could. I mean, if there is such a thing as a haunted item, I would think that a asylum doorknob would probably constitute. What about you, Dave? I mean, it seems like a
maybe so. Maybe the bigger question for this whole entire thing is, why would something want to attach itself to an item?
That's a very good question.
Or did it have a choice?
Yeah. I mean, this is the other thing. Like, we have to look at it in this part, all kidding aside, the eBay stuff's really hilarious, but especially the bra. But aside from haunted undergarments, we have to ask ourselves, how can these things how can something attach to that, right? Like, how can energies be recorded on fabric or metal or glass or all these different media? How does that work?
One of the most known haunted items is the Hope Diamond.
Mm.
There's been, ironically, that thing we're talking about gins and that mask, Hope Diamond was cut from a mine in India, of all places.
Allegedly, yes, that is correct.
And there's been items attached to that where people have touched it and they've had bad fortunes in their future. People have unfortunate deaths, and so my point being that diamond is associated with a major tragic event. I mean, where many, many, many lives were lost.
Okay, yeah. I got you.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so then we have to get into this. Well, what's the difference between a haunted item and a cursed item?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a good example of a cursed item is actually one of the last ones I wanted to touch from the eBay listing, and that would be a Dybbuk box.
Yes.
Those have been showing up on eBay for many years. And if for anybody who's not familiar with what a Dybbuk box is, generally they are a box that contains a spirit, like the spirit was locked away in it. So we're going back to similar, the jinn, but not quite. This is the Hebrew, somewhat the Hebrew equivalent. At least the way the mask worked, or the way a spirit would be locked into something. So back in 2003, there was a writer who had purchased a wine cabinet that was the property of Holocaust survivor. And since then, it has been dubbed a Dybbuk box, which basically held spirits. And once it was opened, these spirits were allowed to come out. And the only way to get the spirits to go back in was through a ritual to put them back in.
Okay.
Now you have these practitioners who will turn essentially these sealed wooden boxes. They'll trap spirits in them, so they say. But there have been some that have had some very, very notable bad stuff happen with them. For example, people who will get one, they'll open it, weird powder and dust shoots out everywhere. Because you can make some of these like any prop maker could make one. All you need is a box that's airtight sealed that you can actually pressurize through a port, and then you could have all your stuff in there. And then as soon as somebody opens it, it's going to blow dust everywhere. It's going to behave like it's possessed. But there have been some of these boxes that have been purchased by people, and it has just been the house burnt down, but the box didn't. The owner of the box, after getting it, wound up, succumbing to a myriad of illnesses, not just having one or two, but having like a sudden onslaught of various medical conditions just berated them.
Oh, wow.
And there's been some movies, the movie The Possession that was done by Sam Raimi. That was a really good one that kind of revolved around a Dybbuk box. And the original Dybbuk box, the one that kind of put everything on notice, the little wine box, is now owned by Zach Baggins, and it's on display at his museum.
Of course. That doesn't surprise me.
Yep.
I mean, this guy's pretty much collecting haunted artifacts, kind of like those the old guy did on was it Friday the 13th series.
Yeah.
He's like going around and collecting all the haunted artifacts. So, but I don't know. I mean, I think it comes down to this, guys. We might be looking at this all wrong. Cursed items and haunted items could be something completely different.
Relics.
Don't say that name. So I had to do that. That was funny. But no, haunted items, relics, could be something completely different. You see, maybe it's not that anything's attached to it per se, but maybe there's an energy that's recorded on that item, and the only way that it is perceived is through someone who knows how to perceive that energy, psychic connection, something to that nature. We have many instances where people have, touched these things or had them in possession, and they'll see things, but someone else may not.
I mean, I've had that happen with me before.
Yeah, but someone else may not. And that's what I'm getting at. It's like, so maybe this is more about the person, the experiencer, rather than the thing that's causing the experience, you see. So maybe they're just picking up on some of this past energy somehow. I don't know.
I have so many questions that probably even go well beyond this podcast, this entire conversation. But it's just like anything else with life, with our actual spirits, hauntings, whatever you want to call them. There's that energy associated with that, and then you have an energy associated with these objects. So in effect, is that obviously we're surrounded by energy. We are energy, but
the force surrounds
us. Yeah, the force.
But it does. You're right. Absolutely.
Something to touch an object, which to me, I'm like, wow. But yet, there's evidence out there of it.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. So, Has either one of you had any actual experience with a haunted object other than, what me and Dave had recorded some stuff? But have you ever had any kind of like weird stuff happen after messing with, something like that?
I've never had anything weird happen, like a haunting, but like you were mentioning earlier, there was something, like when you touched it or when you held it, something almost like reached out, spoke to you, or had premonitions or something, something like that. I have had that happen. One of the most recent was a few years ago. And it was actually at that show where I bought that Adina arrowhead.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like
Yeah.
I couldn't put it down. Like something, without, it just sounds real cliche and weird, but like I felt like the thing was talking to me,
Mhm.
and I couldn't put it down.
People who buy crystals do this all the time. Trust
and
me, it's normal.
and I couldn't leave it. So like I went and got money and bought the thing and brought it home. And it sets upstairs on a shelf. It's going to be moving down here. It'll be down here soon. But yeah, I mean, it was a ritual pendant. It was an arrowhead or a spearhead, but it was a Adina point, and it has a big quartz vein that runs in the middle of it, and when you hold it up to the light, it's transparent. So it wasn't a tool that was used for hunting. It was it was ceremonial. It was a special piece, and like I couldn't let it go. Once I had it in my hands, I was like, I can't. I touched it, and I felt something like I said, just like reach out and grab you. And it wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't negative. Like I had to not put it down. I had to keep it. It was it was my precious.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah, that does happen. And like I said, people who collect rocks and whatnot, they feel the same thing. It's like, yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've picked up something and it's like, this goes home with me, you know?
Speaking of rocks, Ron, you reminded me of something maybe you could consider an object. It's nothing you can carry or take home with you, but I'm not going to name the location because I don't want people going up there where this is at, but there's a place in Charleston. It's a former cemetery. And when I say former, they actually dug up all they relocated the graves, and now there's houses sitting on where this was at.
What could go wrong?
Exactly. And what had to happen when I did this? For I don't know how many years this cemetery sat vacant after they had actually brought the graves up, but there's a rock on top of this mountain, and this was a purported area where they actually were doing satanic rituals up here, like in the 80s. And
I mean, come on, wait, stop, just for a second. I'm just gonna say this. You pause yourself, but let's be real. It was the 1980s.
Satanic panic.
Yeah, exactly.
Who wasn't? What cemetery didn't get hit by someone who was doing rituals, swinging black cats around their shoulders? I don't know. It was a weird time, the 80s.
Oh yeah, but this is a very very specific thing with an actual item.
Okay.
And on top of this cemetery, there's a rock up there. And I said, I was a young child at the time, so I can't say whether this happened or not, But what had happened, there was a rock up there where they supposedly did these rituals on this rock. And when we actually went, I was playing music at the time, and we were all bored, so we decided, hey, we're going to drive up here and check this out and walk on this old cemetery lot. It'd be kind of neat to walk up there and check this out. And we go up and look at this rock. Now, this rock did have like an old brown stain on top of it. Whether that was actually, blood or whatever it may be, who knows. But the point being that rock, that particular item, and while we were up there, was 4 of us, and we all started feeling weird. When I say feel weird, like we were feeling sick. And
okay.
As we walked back to the car, our eyes started burning. I mean, literally to the point we were driving down the road. We had to pull off the side of the road. Our eyes were literally just watering, and our eyes were burning.
Huh.
But it wasn't until we actually touched this object, this rock, where these supposed, things were going on up there. And so there's an object. That was a weird one.
That is a little weird. And, to be fair, I do believe that there are things that we shouldn't touch. That there are objects that, you know, some were put there as traps, and some weren't purposefully put there at all. They just are there. It could be like something that was in a house that got destroyed, or maybe back during the Civil War. We know that. I mean, look at how many
Yeah.
where we live, right? The Civil
Droop
War,
Mountain, Charleston.
Charleston, yeah, right here on the hill. I mean, there could be a rock that I could dig up tomorrow, and so and so may have that might have been where he bled out. This Civil War soldier. So could there be, yeah, you see what I'm getting at though? And you could just accidentally touch into that. And if you're psychically sensitive, that could do some stuff in your head. You could see some stuff and hear some stuff, and who knows, you might release something. I don't know. I mean, it's very possible, guys. I don't discount haunted items at all, or haunted objects. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we do a little bit more of what we did at that meeting. I would really like to run more tests on these things, and just take some data notes and just compare.
Yeah.
My point was what I was describing the cemetery. Even though I just consider myself very skeptical of the haunted items, that's a very serious thing. If
Yeah.
you're, it'd be one thing if just one of the four of us was experiencing this, and none of the rest of us was, but all four of us experienced this, but just by touching this huge rock.
Right. And you got sick, right? I mean, and you've heard me say it multiple times. Your best piece of equipment is you.
Yeah.
You get the cold chills, your stomach kind of gets a little twisty, you might get a headache if you're in these areas. I've heard this so many times from other investigators, and they really don't even know what's going on. And usually it's just, they're very sensitive to these energies, or these I guess vibrations, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what we call them. I mean, we're using
words.
yeah. Yeah, well, we're using words that we don't even know what these
Right.
things are. We're just labeling it again. So, again, Dave, we don't know what they are. We don't know. Like when we were talking we weren't really talking. They were talking. We were measuring. But when they were talking to this table, assuming that this person, right? Well, that's an assumption. I think we made that clear. It was like we don't know who we were talking to or what we were talking to. Extra dimensional being, very possible. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Artificial superintelligence from the future?
Yep.
It could be. I don't know.
Well,
We're not yeah.
go ahead, Dave.
I'm just gonna say no. I'm saying none of us are experts. Though people like to be. We're not. There's no such thing. So yeah.
No,
Absolutely.
there are no experts except for artificial superintelligence.
Dogs.
That will be the expert.
That will be the expert. Yes.
Because they'll eliminate everything that's not them.
Oh yeah.
So then they can make up whatever titles
I
they
think
want.
we agree on that, don't we? I think so.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think it's been a really good show. And it was packed with a lot of information.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Dave?
Well, as Ron says, I think we're going to have to look into some more haunted items. We were supposed to do attend an event recently, and it's something I think we could investigate more into. Obviously Ron and I have been talking, and obviously I know you're going to be included. But we have some things coming up where we're actually going to go into a particular location that may have a lot of items that may have some haunted items, and while we're in there doing some investigating, I think we will,
among other things.
Yes.
do some testing while we're in there. So I think there may be something to this. I mean, I'm skeptical, and I'm going to remain skeptical because, in this field you have to be, because, and even when you think you have proof, you really don't necessarily have proof, because you got to be able to prove it, and it's unprovable, at least with our current methods in science that we know of.
Yeah,
I agree, Dave. Absolutely. And I will say this as a challenge to our viewers and our listeners. If you have a haunted item or a haunted artifact, contact us. Let us know about this, because, it would be another thing to add to our data sheets and our data sets that we have. I just wonder how many of these things there are, you know?
Well, and the fun thing is with us, and now like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people know us. A lot of people know
Yeah.
who we are. And
Bring it to a show.
bring it to a show.
Yeah.
Bring it or mail it to us. Get a hold
No,
of us.
don't mail it to us.
You can mail it to
I don't want
Dave.
your haunted.
And,
Yes.
Just make sure it's not cursed.
Make sure it's
and,
cursed.
No
but
curses.
you know, certain things like that we could actually run tests on to collect data, and then we'll get it back to you. And, you know, if not, you know, basically where you can come and yell at us if we don't get it back to you in time. Either that or it killed us, one of the two.
I just say bring it to a show. I mean, you know, we're at a few
Yeah.
of those things. So
Yeah, bring it to a show. We're
Yeah.
gonna be at a lot of them on the East Coast. I mean,
Hey, maybe that's something we can do this in October. Maybe some folks can bring something by, and we could do a
it's spooky season anyway.
it's spooky season. I like what you're
That'll
thinking,
be-
David.
You know what I'm
We'll
thinking?
swap
Yeah.
out one of our workshops with a haunted item workshop. How about that?
Yeah.
We need to
Let's
start
do
promoting
that.
that and get people to bring haunted items though. So we
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
a little bit. As of tomorrow, we're at 60 days away from Wild and Weird Con. So if you're listening, bring your spooky, creepy items to Wild and Weird Con. We're going to have
Apparently have a show and tell, right? With some
a
equipment.
workshop show and tell with your spooky items, and then we're going to see if we can collect any data off them.
And Joe and I are bringing Ron with us. That's our spooky item.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know why I do this. Okay.
All right, Ron, final thoughts.
Final thought. I just want more data. I mean, I know I keep saying the same thing about just about everything we got, but really, I just want more data. I want to see correlations. I don't mean to just mean data. I want to see, you know, EM data. I want to see that, you know, the gamma data. I want to see all of it. I want
see how consistent it is. If you've got consistent readings with different items, like if they're hitting the same numbers or in the same field.
Exactly. I want control items. I want to do the full experiment and just see. And when we look at the data, we have to say either A, there's something going on, or B, there's nothing going on, right? Well, I think at this point, something's going on just based on what I have seen at this point. So I don't know. I mean, the more data, the more those numbers will change and the more my ideas will change on this probably.
And you know what, Ron? And actually, to add to the experimentation, I know your feelings on this, but I would love to have a LiDAR.
Well, who wouldn't?
Sitting there and watching this, just seeing if there's any like heat signatures,
movement,
or cold signatures, heat signatures, just to see like when we're around, see everything's.
When we do the project that we will announce eventually, when we do the project, we will have several different pieces of equipment, and we'll be throwing everything at those items in the place that you were referring to earlier.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. I can't wait. That's going to be a fun one.
Yes, it will be. And some of you viewers and listeners may be able to participate in that.
Yep. So now, final thoughts on my end. Some of this stuff is completely stretched and fabricated, just like plastic bags. But there is something to some of it that we can't explain. And since we can't explain it, we need more data. So I'm echoing what you guys both said. More solid data is required at this point. And
haunted lingerie.
And something's happening. Something unexplained is going on, and that is enough for me to continue the search for answers.
I think we need more haunted lingerie. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. Yeah. More haunted lingerie. I want all the spooky red candles and haunted lingerie that I can find.
Well, you know what they'll be sending you now. Okay.
I think Joe needs some haunted pantyhose.
Nope.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Joseph, I put him over my head and look like a robber at the next show and harness the spirit of whatever. But
I'm waiting for you to pull some weird science stuff in the movie when you have the bra over your head.
Yes.
See how haunted it is.
Man, that was a classic. I'm sorry.
That is such a good movie. I'm so glad they've not tried to remake it.
Yeah, I know. It was just perfect the way it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, guys, I think that makes the show. Everybody, thanks for listening. Remember, if you are watching us on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. It's a very small thing on your end that you can do is just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then share it on one of your social media accounts or share it with friends. Send it to them in Messenger. You don't have to post it on your public Facebook if this is your dirty little secret. We can keep it that way. Just share it with your friends. And also, if you're wanting to keep up with us and some of the spooky, crazy things we're making, like this little dude, you can go check him out on Instagram. We post those up on a regular basis. Ron's got a really, really cool thing we've got coming up for spooky season as well. We got a couple spooky things coming up for Halloween that you're going to definitely want to keep an eye on TikTok and on Instagram for all of those things, especially. There's been a big move from Facebook, so we get it. We're following with you guys so that way we can stay in touch.
Well, we don't get censored as much.
Yeah, you just don't get it censored as much. Like, I literally got censored over like some of the dumbest things just 2 weeks ago, and it was just because I said my kids slept really heavy and could sleep through a bomb going off outside, and I got put in Facebook jail for 2 days. Still not happy about it, and like I'm restricted for another 2 weeks, I think, from today. But anyway, I digress. Facebook sucks.
Artificial superintelligence is the only way.
Right. So hunt us down on Instagram, Wild Weird Radio on Instagram, and at Lanham Ron, at Skinwalker Sculpts, Hellbent Jessi for Hellbent Holler. Remember, go over and check out Hellbent Holler on YouTube. A lot of cool stuff going on over there. Their new podcast, Dark Dives, they are actually out right now. Jessi and Joe are at the Dogman Hootenanny that's going on down there in Tennessee at it's the Dogman Festival there in Paris, Tennessee, right there near the LBL. I know that Jessi posted tonight that she actually had some new discoveries that you guys are going to get to see on YouTube here soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that stuff. It's going to be really interesting. We love seeing all the work that they churn out week in, week out. And as always, just keep your eyes peeled for new stuff from us. You never know what's going to come out. And remember, haunted lingerie is the way to go. If you can channel the great Booby Llama by planting a massive bra on your head and send us video footage of this, we will send
that show just went off the rail.
What in the world?
we will send you free stuff.
I don't know what.
Stay wild and weird, everybody.
Jeez. Cut.